Well, it was bound to happen. The Cuban-American Democrat torches progressive media and politicians for ignoring the true cause of Cuban protests. I'm Grade 7, and let's get on into this article by the Daily Wire here. A Cuban-American Democrat slammed the mainstream media for ignoring the underlying cause of widespread protests in Cuba. Cuba is presently witnessing the largest protest movement against its communist regime in decades. When the protests began on July 11th, many media outlets, because they're so smart, pointed toward the island's rising COVID-19 case count and the lack of vaccines. Meanwhile, Democrat politicians such as AOC and Bernie Sanders emphasized the notion that American embargo drives the nation's hardships because bad U.S. And, both AOC and Bernie Sanders love communists, so that they can't go against a communist regime here. A Cuban-American doctoral student who identifies as Democrat, there's her first problem, published a video on social media expressing disappointment in the left's coverage of the Cuban protests. Most of the article here is just recanting kind of what she says. So let's listen in here, see what she has to say.
Hi, my name is Elena. I am Cuban. I live in Miami. I am a scientist. I am a Democrat. I voted for Joe Biden.
Right, there's one problem. She voted for Joe Biden.
And I have a message for CNN, for NPR, for President Biden, and for all of the progressive media and politicians. I want to know why you're so afraid to cover the news in Cuba right now by saying the truth. Why are you so afraid of calling Cuba's protests, the protests for freedom from the dictatorship? They're chanting for the end of the dictatorship. You're covering these protests by saying that they're asking for vaccines, that they're asking for food, that they're asking for blackouts to end, all of that. No.
The media is doing all that because they're for communist regimes. She needs to understand that part. The left is for communism. They can't go against it. And the other part of that is they hate the U.S. No, the left hates the U.S. And so anything that they can do to make the U.S. look bad, they don't care about people's lives. All they care about is bad U.S.
That's not what they're asking for. Listen to them. It's loud and clear. Abajo la dictadura. Down with the dictatorship. It's the end of the regime. This is the only chance that they have. And if you keep bringing the embargo in, listen, we could have talked about the embargo last week, last month. I don't care. I agree with you. The embargo makes no sense. It needs to end, all of that. But that's the same narrative.
Thing is, Obama for 2.5 years into the embargo, and Cuba was the one that didn't want anyone coming in. Now, you got to understand that part too. We've tried ending the embargo. It didn't work. Cuba spat in our face.
That the oppressors are using there. They're blaming everything on the embargo. Stop bringing the embargo up. NPR, shame on you. I heard your interview today, and every time the person you were interviewing brought up the reality of what the protests were all about, which is one thing, the end of the regime, you kept bringing the embargo, and your headline was all about Cubans protesting for food shortages to end and blah, blah, blah.
They're doing that because, again, they're not following the leftist line, which is bad U.S., and communism is good. That's the line. When you realize that, you'll realize why the media, the NPR, and all that did what they did. It's actually very, very blatant.
Need the truth right now, and there's nothing unprogressive about that. There's nothing unprogressive about saying that the Cubans are trying to get rid of one of the worst dictatorships in the history of Latin America.
They're not progressives. Let's get that straight. They're not left. They're not liberal. They're not progressive. They're far left. The far left is intolerant, They're for dictatorships. They want power. And they don't care about you. They don't care about a person. They don't care about your freedom. All they care about is their message and nothing else.
This is bad. Let me tell you the facts. Right now, the people in Cuba are being imprisoned, are being tortured, are disappearing only for protesting. They are unarmed. They're fighting against a very heavily armed and stronger state, and they have no help.
And that's what that's what our leftists are trying to do. They're trying to disarm us. Now, listen up this. You've got a bunch of unarmed people here who are fighting the government. Meanwhile, our leftists are trying to disarm us so that they can do this.
We need action, we need help, and we need truth. Please.
I mean, right there shows why the left is so bad. I mean, they're doing all these things. They'd make Castro back in the 60s look proud. Or is it 50s? I can't remember exactly when he took over. I'd have to look it on up. But when he took on over, they're just making it look. Leftists are looking at that and going, we can do this to America. I mean, I think there's a campus reform video out there. You can go look at that. College students thinking that the U.S. flag, no, these Cubans that are protesting, waving the U.S. flag, they're going, why are they waving such an oppressive flag? They don't get it. They don't understand that the U.S. flag to people who are oppressed means freedom. They don't understand that because they've lived in freedom. They don't know what freedom is anymore. And they're giving it away. And you have people like her right here who are begging you guys to open your eyes. Now that's the video. That's kind of my response. Let me know what you think. I'm Grid 7. Come see me on YouTube. Come on over to Rumble. I like it much better. Much more freedom. And I'll see you next video.